What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 405 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we will be breaking down some of the current events, the rumors, the news, gossip, and everything else that went down in the world of professional wrestling over the past few days. I feel like I'm talking really fast, but I'm not all that wired. Who am I? I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, is Robert DeFelice.
I like wireless, Tony.
Yeah, I got some Wi-Fi built into me. Let's see what we got going on here. We got a couple different hot tags, so as usual, leave your comments below. Tell us what you think about all the things we're going to be talking about and the things we're not going to be talking about. Then, I don't know, talk about that too. Why not? I'm not stopping you. You should be doing that on YouTube, and if you have not subscribed to us on YouTube yet, go ahead and do that, and ring that little bell for notifications. If you are on the audio-only platforms like iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify and Google Play and all that other kind of stuff, then howdy. Leave us a rating, ranking, whatever it is that they have on those platforms, and hop on over to YouTube and do that stuff. So let's talk about shows. Because we're a show, and we watch shows.
We're a show about shows.
We are a show about shows. And that just goes to show you, I don't know what else to say with that. I set myself up for
when you're showing out, it really shows.
So let's showcase something here that I didn't watch. Adrian Street, Imagine What I Could Do to You. You got a chance to check this out. I technically could have, but I watched Top Gun instead. So. Let's be perfectly honest. That's what happened. I was just like, I'm fucking tired of wrestling. Let me watch people play volleyball and,
Playing with the boys. Speaking of playing with the boys, that's something Adrian Street might have wanted you to think he wanted to do to you. Because
that's
Adrian
a good transition.
Street, thank you. Because Adrian Street was really one of the first feminine characters in British wrestling. I thought this was a really good 20-minute mini documentary. I know a little bit about Adrian Street from watching his stuff in Memphis Wrestling, where he was paired up with Jim Cornette and had a feud with, the name just escaped me.
Terry Taylor?
Not Terry Taylor, Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee. And I got to get to know the person behind the character a little bit, and I think it's super cool that NXT UK allows these legends like the Johnny Saints and the Adrian Streets to be seen again. And, you got some cool things in there with like Johnny Saint saying, I couldn't understand this guy. I was raised on Billy Robinson and, locking up, and this guy wouldn't link up for 5 minutes. He'd just be prancing around. And I just really enjoyed it. It was a nice little trip down, through the halls of history. And it was one of the more harmless things you could watch on this incredibly packed weekend. I say see it.
Yeah, I only watched a brief minute or so, and it was like, here's Adrian Street against Terry Taylor, and I was just kind of like, ugh, and I was like, I can't do any more wrestling.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yeah, so I bypassed it, and that's a combination of I'm not a big fan of old history stuff. I'm not a big fan of necessarily like the British scene. Just there's a little bit of a disconnect for me. But it does seem like he was kind of like the precursor to Goldust, which is kind of interesting, especially during an era where it was even more risque to do stuff like that. So if you're interested, go ahead and check it out. I can't say see it or skip it because I skipped it, but if Rob's saying thumbs up, then go watch it, everybody. I did see, though, WWE Day of SummerSlam 2019, and I felt like that was super quick. Like, I don't know how long it was, but I kind of thought that it was maybe like a 15-20 minute thing that went by in like 3. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I've had enough wrestling that I said that before, but I thought that it was kind of neat. It's just sort of like an elongated Fallout video to a certain extent. I say check it out, but not the biggest thing in the world.
I feel like those day of things are just okay.
They're kind of hollow.
Yeah, they're literally just whatever.
It's a lot of stuff like, if you like the beginning of it, of Goldberg saying, thank you all for letting me come back home, it's basically that for a couple minutes. So you're not going to get like a, real in-depth kind of look at well, this thing happened, because nothing controversial happened to begin with either. It's not like the Beyond the Mat type thing or something where you're gonna be like, oh, it's behind the scenes of the Montreal Screwjob. It's like, yeah, this is SummerSlam. They did SummerSlam. So yeah, thumbs up for me.
Yeah. I'm just okay with the stuff like that. The day of stuff is just whatever, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. It all blends together. The day of, the
Chronicle
365, Chronicle 24.
Yeah.
You know, like that's 4 shows that can meld into one real easy.
Mm-hmm. It should all just be WWE Chronicle. That's the name that's the most overarching. WWE Chronicle. AJ Styles 365. Something like that.
I take that back. Maybe 365 can stand on its own. But Chronicle Day of and
24
need to go away.
Especially because 24 doesn't make any sense at all.
Nothing about 24 makes sense. It made sense the first time because it was the episode of
the 24 hours around WrestleMania. Yeah.
Yep.
If it's not a 24-hour period, which would be the day of, just saying, you know, then it shouldn't be 24. And that's like saying, I got a new show. It's called Red Team, and it's about how to cook things. It's like, what's Red Team about? Fuck you, it's a title. Yeah.
There you go.
So on the topic of all these extraneous shows, we've got Starrcast III, to be specific. I didn't see any of it, but you've been checking out some different things here and there throughout the week. Anything that stand out? I know the CM Punk thing's a big thing. I know that they've had tons of other different kinds of things that I've lost track of. So,
way to no-sell the shit out of Starrcast, already.
Yeah,
you've been checking out things here and there. This was the bulk of my weekend. Like, this made things more difficult. The Cody Rhodes thing with Tony Schiavone was great. Because Cody Rhodes strikes me as an individual who has been waiting for this moment his whole life, where everything he says is a newsworthy soundbite. Because this dude just fires him off. Like, he immediately starts talking about, well, did you say you were signed to AEW, Tony? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how, you know, WWE was interested in you, and Conrad, who's basically your agent, is just saying, I don't know, man, there's interest on the other side. You might need to hike it up. So then Tony takes over and basically says, Bruce Pritchard called to say, we're interested, which led him to telling Conrad before he told his own wife, which then led to Conrad telling Cody, and Cody sent Tony a one-sentence message that simply said, you're not going to WWE. And I think, like, a few days later, he was signed.
Imagine having the pull to say that. Be like,
he can do that. He can do that.
Then again, he does like tweeting things, according to some of the other negotiation tactics.
He also talked about that shit. He's like, yeah, I really like this executive vice president role. I've had to learn a lot. Like, you know, contract tampering is a thing, because apparently you had a contract with MLW, and thank God for Court Bauer being a decent, you know, being a easy to work with guy. And he talked about how the AEW championship was very expensive, and he'll probably never be allowed to be on any of the other belt committees because he goes, pardon the pun, all out, and he makes them really expensive. So it was just like good information, good little bits of fun information. Told some stories about his relationship with Vince and how that Vince probably assumed that he was just like Dusty and Dustin, and he's actually a nerd. And he was asked what his favorite Zelda game is, to which he said Ocarina of Time. They turned the question on Tony, which was awesome because Tony didn't even blink. He goes, A Link to the Past. And I was just like, yeah! Tony Schiavone knows what video games are.
Never been a Zelda guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I honestly, first Zelda game I've ever legitimately owned, I've played all of them, but I've only owned Breath of the Wild, which is the most recent one.
I played the first one, couldn't get into it. I played the second one, couldn't get into it. And I played about 5 minutes of, I think, Ocarina of Time. That was an N64, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played like a couple minutes of that at like a Toys R Us or something, and I was just kind of like, yeah, still not into it.
That was some clip notes on the Cody Rhodes thing. The Tony Schiavone signing information was the most interesting to me. I also really enjoyed the Dean Malenko bit. I know that Dean Malenko is kind of a weird guy because you don't think, oh, what great stories might Dean Malenko have? But he's actually really funny. Like, he was just a complete, for a dude who was known as being the Iceman in 1004 Holds, he's just a complete jokester. My favorite dad joke was, hey, you ever hear about the Jewish heel? He was good at getting cheap heat. Ha ha! And I was just like...
Heyman probably likes that one.
It's fucking fantastic. And then you have... I know later on in the weekend, I believe he revealed he has Parkinson's, which sucks.
Yeah, that's a shame.
You know, he talked about Benoit, and
really,
actually, it was like a nice and positive Benoit memory, like how when Benoit won the title, he went backstage and he hugged him and he said, you know, this is as much mine as it is yours. And he was like, yeah, that's still one of the best moments of my life. It was a very emotional moment for me. And I guess, you know, Dean is probably in that level of being able to talk about it without being able to, you know, being able to separate my friend from the monster at the end of his life. Skipping ahead here to Friday, wrestling with stereotypes. This one is long, but if you ever just want to kind of shut your wrestling brain off, but also be informed about issues, wrestling with stereotypes is great. They
what was
touched
that one
on.
about? I don't even remember hearing about that ahead of time.
It's Andreas Hale, who works for Sporting News, and his podcast partner, and they did just an entire stage show about stereotypes in wrestling. They did a group with the LGBT community, like Sonny Kiss, Nyla Rose, Ron Funches was there for that. They did a section with just black representation WWE, and that had, you know, like kind of social media influencer, and it was just like these great discussions because, you know, you don't see things from that point of view. Like, they talk about the Triple H Booker T WrestleMania 19 angle, and Ron Funches, or might have even been Mega Ran, who's been on some episodes of SmackDown, talk about how when Triple H beat Booker T, it was like affirming for them at young, impressionable ages that, oh, maybe he's not good enough to be champion. Maybe, you know, the way he looks does affect whether or not he can be champion. Private Party was there as well, and they discuss, you know, turning to wrestling while some of their other friends were turning to, you know, just joining gangs or selling drugs, and how it wasn't easy for them because being two young black kids looking up to Jeff Hardy, the kind of comments they would get, you know?
Yeah, there's a disparity there.
On the LGBT side of things, they talk about Goldust, and they talk about how that was, you know, a great character, but they tend to lean too much on the stereotypes. Now, I didn't hear them reference this. I did jump into this midway through, but you probably know this very well, being a New Generation guy. When Goldust does the thing where he revives Ahmed with the mouth-to-mouth, Vince's call on that is, oh my god, that's disgusting. That's revolting. That's the most disgusting thing ever. Imagine that in 2019. Do that with 2019 eyes. That's insane.
Yeah, they'd never be able to do that. And then Ahmed, of course, was like real pissed about that. And
yeah, you can't do that anymore. It was a great discussion, and I do implore you all to check it out. Women of AEW was meh. It was more hype for the Battle Royal than anything else. I think the most important thing there was Brandy Rhodes saying that they were having a 5-hour creative meeting following that discussion on the women. So, there's long-term planning there. And then there's the CM Punk thing.
Now that's the big one.
I love this guy. And I feel like I want you to see this one too, because I think you'd like it. He opens the show by basically saying, I'm not going to AEW. I'm not going anywhere tonight. I'm going home to see my wife. She's been in LA. I haven't seen my wife. I want to see my wife and my dog. And then you get into the discussions about the fun stuff, the WWE stuff with Cena, and he talks about how he and John really like each other because, they both had the balls to just take things by the reins. And he tells a funny story about the first time he worked with Cena, and he takes him over in headlock, and Cena starts calling things, and he just looks over to Mike Chioda, and he just goes, Mike, who the fuck is calling this match? and John did exactly that. He starts laughing, and then after that, it was like, he let me do whatever the fuck I wanted, and he was always glad whenever I did. And then he tells a story about going to face The Undertaker, because Mike Johnson goes, well, there's a rumor that you were unhappy about facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and I don't know how a dude who started his career working for Ian Rotten and falling off balconies could be unhappy working The Undertaker. He's like, I wasn't unhappy with the match. I was unhappy with the idea that they didn't want to make me seem like a credible challenger. Because I remember Michael Hayes came up to me and he's like, I was wrestling Kane, and he goes, all right, you're gonna Kane, spike you, 1, 2, 3. And he just goes, really? You're gonna just keep beating me as I go to wrestle The Undertaker? And he actually reveals that the urn segment is what he feels saved the angle, the one right before WrestleMania where he
the ashes for Paul Bearer.
That's cat litter.
Huh.
So that's something. And
that makes sense. I mean, they obviously can't use real ashes.
It wasn't used cat litter either. He made sure to let that know. Perhaps the biggest takeaway from this one was Mike Johnson tells him, how do you feel that you changed the game? Guys are allowed to ask for time off now. And he goes, what? What do you mean? He goes, yeah, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch just took 2 weeks off. And he just starts laughing. He busts out laughing. He goes, guys, hindsight 2020, if you'd have just given me some time off, maybe I'd still be there. And he's just laughing the whole way through. He goes, my God, I think I'm going to sign a full-time contract right now just so I can go, you know what? I think I'm ready for some time off. And fun stuff like that. He talks about, actually gets a little bit into DC Comics, because they're like, oh yeah, Batista playing Drax. Is there a Marvel character or a DC character you'd want to play? Somebody in the crowd shouts out Casey Jones. And he's like, yeah, that'd be fun. And then he goes, he wants to play Moon Knight. He wants to play Michael Spector. And
Mark Spector.
What did I say? Michael?
Michael, yeah.
He wants to play Mark Spector. I could see him being real big in acting if these next 2 movies take off. But I also just want to see him in wrestling. Like, there is that void that's like, I just want to see you wrestle. And I don't think it's going to happen, to be fully honest.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't show up at AEW's All Out show out of all the things.
But now they're in Chicago every year. So now you'll get to, like, every year, maybe this is the year.
If anything, I think that there might be even a chance that he goes and does something with WWE. Got a weird feeling about that. Like,
and I guess people who are listening to this will kill me if I don't say this. He did say he would not mind talking to them. Well, he specifically said, I'll talk to anybody, but here's the key. You have to reach out to me. Just reach out to me. Just talk to me. Like, I hold no grudges. Just, you have to come to me because I'm not going to knock on any doors.
Makes sense. Now, if you're Colt Cabana, you might want to reach out to... Did he talk about that?
No, he didn't talk about that. He did say he was tired of being sued. but he
Yeah.
didn't talk about that. Yeah, and he also tells a great story about Stone Cold Steve Austin, because they asked him, they're like, who would you like to wrestle today? And he tells a great story about how in 2010, when he thought he was leaving in 2011, he told Stone Cold Steve Austin, hey, since you're in town and we have a house show tonight, can you come around and just give all the heels a stunner? I want to be able to say I took a Stone Cold Stunner. And he goes, well, hell, nobody's ever asked me that before. Like, I've been waiting for somebody to just ask to do something with me, and nobody's ever asked me before.
How the
So he
fuck does
kind
that
of,
happen? Like, how do you guys not reach out and say something like that? Even a text message? Like, what?
yeah, maybe it's because if you look at the landscape in 2010, a lot of those guys were like FCW Nexus dudes. Maybe they didn't
That's
want
weird.
to. And he's just like, yeah, you know, like, I don't watch wrestling, but I watch clips, and I've seen Will Ospreay, and I know I can't do that, but I can do something with that. And Marty Skrull said he would like to wrestle me, and I kind of found that flattering. I think Marty's a cool guy. So basically, my takeaway from this is CM Punk is approachable. Just approach him,
And that
right?
he's chilled out quite a bit, it seems.
Yeah, like he's chilled out. Just approach him.
Well, CM Punk, if you're listening, you want to donate to the Patreon?
Listen, CM Punk, if you're listening and you want to donate to the Patreon, by all means, please do so.
I would rather you do an interview than to donate to the Patreon. But if anybody else is interested, Patreon is up there. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment if you want to help us keep the lights on and you want us to do some different special features and anything else in the future, throw $1 or $5 or whatever our way. Or you can also buy something from the merchandise shops, TeePublic and Redbubble, Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, and A Mango Tees. Get those plugs out of the way. So, Starrcast 3, you've seen Starrcast 1, Starrcast 2. How do you feel it measures up overall?
This was a one-show event. I think, and in fairness to Conrad Thompson, everything happened so quickly. It was only May to August from Starrcast 2 to Starrcast 3. The Moxley thing didn't get to happen. Oh, Punk did mention that too. He's like, listen, guys, I was hurt. Ambrose isn't here tonight. Where is he? Oh, he's dealing with MRSA because it's serious shit. You know, and he talks about that real quick. And I think Conrad Thompson does a great job. I think once a year in Chicago, Starrcast, I'm all for it.
Not multiple times a year, though.
Not multiple times a year.
No, then that's, for that matter, like, Starrcast is essentially the wrestling equivalent of Comic-Con. And for the most part, there's basically 2 Comic-Cons. San Diego Comic-Con's the biggest one. New York Comic-Con's the number 2. And then they have all, Wizard World and Otakon and God knows what. There's a million other little tiny con things and stuff like that. But those little ones don't really have the same type of appeal. They don't have the big marketing sweeps behind them. And you're not going to go to some local Too Many Games convention that I've done with Fanboys Anonymous and expect to get some kind of big E3 type of deal, D23 comes along, D23 or whatever they call it.
I love
why is it even called D23 or D23?
I have no clue, but let me tell you, I love D23 and I love just getting excited about Disney.
So like they've got their thing, they do that. The Star Wars has their convention thing that they do and whatever. Starrcast can't be a 6 times a year type of thing without it being burnout. And if they want to make it once a year, then they can make a big deal out of that. And for instance, like the thing that you said about wrestling with stereotypes, something like New York Comic Con and all that, they have so many little panels, and there's a lot that deal with things like LGBT representation in comic books and like different things like that. So they could copy that and kind of keep that going and make a bigger venue out of things.
Can they please announce that they're working with All Elite Wrestling? I'm tired of hearing, oh, it's a different thing. Yeah, it might be, but in reality, it's not so much. Like,
if you have angles that work their way into it and you are tied specifically to the events that deal with AEW, and some of the big motivating factors are the people in AEW, and WWE doesn't want their people to be involved in it and all that. It's like, yeah, you're a part of AEW.
You're working with AEW. I hate to break it to you.
Yeah, just admit it. Just admit it. Go along with it. Pay Conrad whatever you want to pay him if that is like the difference maker, and just, go with the flow. It's not like anybody's going to care,
I agree.
So let's see what else we got here. We're talking AEW. Let's talk about this. I don't know too much about this, so you might be able to fill me in on it. Apparently, there was some sort of backstage altercation between Sadie Gibbs and Bea Priestley.
I will only say what is public. Casey Michael of Squared Circle Sirens, great source for all things women's wrestling, said, credit to, let me read the official tweet from him. But essentially, Bea Priestley and Sadie Gibbs got into an altercation
Little kerfuffle.
So Casey Michael tweeted, Sadie is a real one for swinging on Bea backstage last night. Put the title on her, please. So kind of like what we do when we like somebody. Give them the belt. Give them the belt.
Yeah, Dane ruined that for me. Now it's my go-to phrase for everything.
So Sadie Gibbs then posted a video on Instagram of Bea Priestley essentially no-selling a gorilla press from the Casino Battle Royal. Right? And there is some extended heat between Sadie Gibbs and Bea Priestley's boyfriend, Will Ospreay. And I'm going to pull this up right now because specifically Callum wanted us to talk about this.
Well, was the backstage Donnybrook or whatever the fuck you want to call it? Donnybrook. Wow.
Yeah. No.
That came out of my mouth as like, what am I, from like 1930?
No, we're going with Donnybrook now.
Yeah, I said kerfuffle earlier, and then the old skirmish that they had. Was that supposed to be before or after the Battle Royal? Do you happen to know the timeline of that?
It sounds like it was after the Battle Royal.
Okay, so maybe something might have happened during that.
Yeah, maybe it was the no-sell on the gorilla press that pissed her off. Okay.
So what's the whole thing with Ospreay then?
So Ospreay tweeted, and this tweet occurred in January. I sent 2 messages out to 2 girls going to wrestle in Japan. I told them that Japan isn't a vacation, that this is work, that I don't think they're ready for it. I can happily say that Bobby Tyler UK has stepped up her game and is getting better each match. Keep up the work. Sadie Gibbs then kind of responded to that by saying, and my intention was to never impress nor prove to someone who really has no involvement in my life choices, and right now with the loss of someone extremely close to me and my family, I'd love to say that this tweet has hurt me. So that's kind of when the Young Bucks stepped in and said, hey, for the record, we've seen your shit and we think you're awesome. So it appears
for Sadie Gibbs.
For Sadie Gibbs. It appears that Ospreay might have been saying that he felt Sadie was slacking.
Now, Priestley's dating Ospreay?
Yes, they're dating.
So that could be the type of thing where it's like, oh, we're going to talk behind her back and we're going to hate her, and then they have some kind of heat and like that kind of typical high school type bullshit.
I mean, if I'm purely honest here, it's all stupid, but this is all such old school wrestling cattiness that I'm kind of like, I'm here for it because it's fucking, it seems very, oh, that's wrestling, gotta watch your back, brother, I don't know.
So we can expect a little bit down the line, Sadie Gibbs versus Bea Priestley on the TV show, and then they start doing some kind of like, hey, we're gonna break the fourth wall here, like that kind of thing that they do quite a bit.
Yep.
All right, well, stay tuned for that, everybody. Really quick note, the horse's name was Hunter Horse Helmsley.
Yes, on Being the Elite, Adam Page, because this is Being the Elite and they do bits and it's amazing.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, this is the horse. His name is Hunter Horse Helmsley. Shake his hand, don't be a dick. And it just, you know what it made me say? Immediately I went, yeah, if I had a horse, its name would probably be Hunter Horse Helmsley.
Yeah, that's a good name for it. So, I can't fault them on that one. I thought that was funny. We have to talk about, since we talked to Sadie Gibbs, we talked to Priestley, we have to talk Kylie Rae. We briefly mentioned this, but a little bit more has come out about it. Not too much, though. But she's essentially supposed to be just done. No longer wrestling anymore.
I wanted to talk about this because this is something that is really interesting in the wrestling media world. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com asked during the media scrum, where's Kylie Rae? And Tony Khan just was like, oh, she's not with us anymore. She called us up and said she doesn't want to work here. We granted her release. I asked you, okay, everything was great, everything was amicable. And it sparked this weird thing on Twitter of how does this get covered? Because some people are saying, I think these reporters should just respect her privacy, just give her love and strength at this time. Don't try to pry through every detail of her life. And then there are some that are doing the whole, well, I know something you don't know, and don't let AEW sweep this under the rug. And it's fucking weird because how would you cover this? And I'll say what the popular rumors are. The popular rumors are that it's a mental health thing, and it also may be a bit of a spinal injury. And I'm not sure if one has kind of influenced the other, but what I'm more concerned about is the well-being of this person. And it kind of sucks that, they can fall off the face of the earth and you don't know if they're doing all right. You would hate to hear anything gruesome in any aspect, whether it's like, oh, she's got a real bad spinal injury or, her mental health is really taking a turn for the worse. I would like to, at some point in the relatively near future, know that this person is okay. And I think the wrestling media should respect boundaries, but also if there is some kind of shitty story here, then it should be put out, because there's plenty of small things that get escalated ridiculously in today's culture. So if this is a big story and we can catch it, and we can out whatever harm is going on, if that is the kind of case, while it's, fresh, you should do that now before you try to reverse and make a big deal out of something 5 years from now. You know what I mean?
Well, this is a tricky kind of situation because without knowing whatever information's going on, there's a million different paths that it could be. And if it's something like, for instance, if it's a mental health thing, well, how many times do you hear the story, and you hear it every time that somebody commits suicide or something, the whole well, nobody did anything ahead of time and I wish I would have known. If that is what's going on or whatever, it might be helpful to kind of call attention to that and to have somebody like a Kylie Rae or whatever seek some kind of help for it. If that's not the case, which, I mean, who knows if that is the case, whether or not she is getting some kind of help for it, instead of sweeping it under the rug and being like, yeah, well, we're going to respect privacy. And then a couple months from now, we hear the worst kind of news.
And then something happens and you're like, oh man, please reach out and talk to someone.
Right.
And this is going to be weird, but I can't stand people who go, oh man, I reach out. And then they go, oh, do you always have to be talking about your mental health?
Mm-hmm.
I hate that, because if somebody feels comfortable enough to reach out to you, then you should fucking listen to them and try to help them through whatever dark time. Now, on the flip side, if it's a spinal thing,
and then it changes things around, because then it's not a matter of being like, well, we need to address this so we can kind of nip something in the bud. Then it becomes a matter of, why bother keeping it serious? Why bother keeping it secret? A serious injury like that will force her to potentially just never wrestle again. You can clear it up in one tweet and just say, not verbatim, but like you could say like, yeah, I've got a spinal injury. I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm seeking treatment, whatever. Thanks for all the well wishes. And then that's it. And then you stop all the speculation, because there could be people going like, oh, well, I heard that she got fired because she pissed somebody off backstage. Or then, well, I've been hearing that she's pregnant with Tony Khan's kid. And like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just anybody can make up anything at that point. And if you're in the public eye, it sucks to always be in the public eye, but you have a little bit of a responsibility to kind of like stop random rampant speculation from happening. If you have something that you can report, there should be privacy, but if it's not something that's like a problem to reveal, then I kind of feel like you should reveal it and just stop other people from making up crap that becomes the fact after the case, you know?
I don't know. It's something that is very concerning
And confusing.
But I'm just concerned for the person, I guess, because especially if it's the mental health thing, people might go, well, she's on top of the world. Yeah, but you can be on top of the world and still wake up feeling like shit and just not wanting to do it anymore. So
Look at the Dave Chappelle special about Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah,
The
like,
joke
literally.
about that makes sense.
And the point of that joke is to say you never know what somebody's going through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
It's a weird situation that hopefully if we find out any more information about it, it'll be positive information as opposed to negative information. But until then, it's all up for speculation. And then with you being, not you specifically, Rob, but like you listeners and everybody out there, if you are contributing to the speculation, then you got to always preface ahead of time that it's just speculation, you know? I've never met Kylie Rae. I know nothing about her, so I know nothing about the situation.
For example, everything that we just ran through, purely speculation. Purely...
Yeah, it could be nothing at all. It could be that she has a parakeet that's sick, or that she wants to travel the world eating the best cheesesteaks. I have no fucking idea. That sounds amazing right now. Just do that. Tony Luke's should go for that one.
I could totally go for cheesecake. Cheesesteak. Oh, that's cool. So the straight up Steve Austin thing, which we did not watch because we were doing this podcast.
Oh, I thought you were talking about cheesecake. I thought it was like, oh, it's cool, cheesecake.
No, because they just shared this in the Fightful Skype chat. Becky Lynch gave Stone Cold the stunner, and he sold it, and I think that's fucking cool.
Nice.
That's fucking cool.
Goddamn, kid.
They were drinking. They were in a wrestling ring. They're drinking. She stopped drinking and stunned him. He got to be on the receiving end of that. I think that's rad.
That's neat. Let's see what else we got going on here. We just talked to Kylie Rae, so let's talk about another unfortunate situation. Kacy Catanzaro is leaving wrestling. She had some sort of a back injury, and that's going to be it for her. That fucking sucks.
So, again, bringing up great women's wrestling source, Casey Michael of Squared Circle Sirens, breaking this story, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe Casey's commented on publicly yet?
I don't think so. So there might be more details to it than that. Maybe she's got a sick parakeet too. I don't know.
So this is also a back issue. This is some disc issues, and she is reportedly retiring. Also, and this is just as important, because reportedly WWE has a thing in place where they cannot fire people, and you have to quit.
Yeah, the no firing rule, which that seems like the type of thing that will just completely get changed very soon as well. because there's going to be different circumstances for different people. Like, they're going to run into a situation where they're going to fire somebody at some point. Somebody's going to do something wrong on social media, or they're going to make an ass of themselves backstage or something, and they're going to be fired. Like, it's going to happen. But I kind of assume that this whole rule extenuates a little bit to the idea of letting contracts run out. And if somebody really wants to quit, that when they quit, they're going to have to forfeit whatever else of their contract that they've got going on. Like, say if like the Revival, I think that the Revival, their contract ends in April, if I remember correctly. If they were to say, you know what, screw it, fine, we quit, and we just want to go to AEW or something like that, then WWE would probably say, okay, well, if you quit, then you need to forfeit the royalties and all the part of your cash settlements or whatever it is that they've got going on from this point onward until your contract is going to end. I assume that that's how that works. And for somebody like Kacy Catanzaro, I don't know how long of a deal that she's been in, but if she's leaving from an injury, there might be some different circumstances to go along with that. Because that's not reading the same to me. It's being like, well, I want to leave WWE and I don't want to be in NXT anymore and I want to go to AEW. That seems like it's just like, yeah, I'm injured. I can't do this anymore. And that really sucks because, man, she was somebody who, she was athletic, pretty, great personality, it seemed, passionate. She could have been a big deal on this NXT thing that they're switching over to.
She probably was getting ready to be a big deal.
Yep. And whenever they would have bumped up Candice LeRae, she would have slotted right into that Candice LeRae type of role. She would have been a good backup, like second babyface or so.
She was doing a tag team with Lacey Lane. So I'm going to read you Kacy's tweets verbatim. From what was told to me, Kacy was having an issue with her discs and called it quits. WB has a no fire rule, so if someone leaves, it's because they quit. So apparently she hurt her back. She handed in her notice. This fucking sucks, man.
And I hate to kind of like bring a negative to somebody else into the mix, but whenever something like this happens, part of me always goes, it's a shame that it couldn't have been, and then I like replace it with somebody else, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna put any specific names out there, but there's a couple other people that I'd be like, well, you know what, if this person would have had some kind of an issue, it would have been less bothersome to me, because I was looking forward to Kacy's career. I thought that she was really entertaining with the couple of matches that I've seen her in. I thought she had a lot of an upside to her. Really, really tiny, and that would have caused some problems in the future with like how would she work with these people and stuff, but she worked with Reina Gonzalez and they made that fun, you know, so I thought that she had championship potential.
Just say it, Tony. You want Mike Chioda to rub your discs in his neck.
Mike Chioda? That's a weird pull for that one. No, but you know what I mean? Like, it's the kind of the whole argument of being like, well, it's a shame you can't take a couple of years off of a Bam Neely and give it more to The Undertaker or Sting or something, you know? Like,
I love Bam Neely and
it's like my go-to.
And fucking Babel are for some reason this dude's go-tos. What a wild world. But yeah, fuck Bam Neely. Bam Neely, what did Bam Neely ever do?
Yeah, you know, did we need Ricky Ortiz for that long, or could we have given
he had a towel? He was cool.
Give a couple of those matches to Sting. You know?
Oh my god.
That's like the way I kind of look at things, and it's like, oh, it's a shame. Like Kacy, if Kacy were to have left because she decided that she wanted to do Ninja Warrior again or something like that, then it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's a chance that you'll come back in the future. Having an injury that could be like scary enough where it's like, all right, I don't want to wrestle anymore, seems like it kind of closes that book. And I don't know what else she'd be able to do if she were to stick around in WWE, you know, like she doesn't strike me as a manager type. She doesn't strike me as a commentator. She posts those videos on the WWE PC YouTube, but do you really make that into like a career of her watching Ricochet? You know, it's tough. And hopefully she's got some kind of a plan, and this isn't just like some kind of crippling thing where her athleticism's just shot forever now. maybe she could do something like she could teach gymnastics because she's into gymnastics a lot.
She could probably do some yoga class at the Performance Center. That's
Yeah, I mean,
that's not a knock. Like I think she would be good at that. I would
yeah,
like for her to still be in and around the business rather than, get in, get hurt, and get out. That would be kind of shitty to me.
yeah. Hopefully, there's some kind of a backup plan, and not just for the fact that like obviously she has to make a living, but like something that she can find just as rewarding. And the downside to it is, well, then we just miss out on having Kacy as part of NXT. So that sucks.
Yeah. Not for nothing. I'm being totally serious here. People underestimate how hard wrestling is in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a huge issue.
And you got to figure too, they've got such better stuff going on right now than they used to, and it's still that bad. So, when people do the whole like, "Oh, this is fake," and then you find out, and then it turns out to be like, "Wow, this is actually really tough," and all that. And no wonder everybody ends up being like addicted to painkillers, and their bodies are like beat to hell when they're 40, and
Yeah, and it's not right. And slowly but surely the business is changing. But I think that perception changing will be more helpful to wrestling than anything else, because you're probably like, well, Kacy can get really injured training for American Ninja Warrior, but wrestling she'll be fine. That's just fake, right?
right. And it's like, yeah, anybody can get injured doing anything, and like even with like the idea of some sort of an off season, that's going to help in the long run for a lot of people if they ever implement something like that. But that doesn't mean that when they come back, they don't just like take one weird bump and then that's it. Paige had however much time off. She gets a kick from Sasha Banks. She's done forever. And you could be not even in that. And fuck, I still have wrist problems from months ago. And what the fuck did I do? I type all day. Like that's something that you can slip in the shower on a bar of soap and crack your head open. You never really know. And Kacy could have taken one bad back bump from some sort of a body slam or something, and that's all it takes. So can't underestimate the whole idea of your job is to beat up your body for a living, and when you do that, your body gets beaten up.
Yeah.
So when these people come around and you got like a Chris Jericho or a Triple H or an Undertaker, or Shawn Michaels, that they they were decades into their career, and some people are healthier than others. Like it seems for the most part that Mark Henry's pretty healthy. Seems like he got out before there was some kind of a major problem.
Chris Jericho, they need to make clones of Chris Jericho because he's never been injured.
Miz hasn't really been injured all that
Nope,
much either.
never
He's been
taken-
there for when the hell did Miz come into the mix? It's like 2005.
Never taken time off for an injury has the Miz.
So that's, some people are luckier than others, and unfortunately Kacy Catanzaro not one of the luckier ones, and that really sucks because she was somebody I was totally looking forward to with this NXT bump. Damn.
Yeah.
Really quickly, everybody, let's just toss out another plug here. If you are interested in the movie reviews and TV shows and comic books and video games and whatever else on the geek culture spectrum that I get a chance to talk about, fanboysanonymous.com is where you're going to find that. So in the past, I don't know if I've done anything about Ninja Warrior, but I used to watch American Ninja Warrior, the old Ninja Warrior, not American one, back in the day when that was on G4. Which, remember G4? That was a channel.
I love Japanese Ninja Warrior on G4.
It was so much better.
American Ninja Warrior is okay, but the Japanese Ninja Warrior makes you understand why these people are just fucking insane.
The fact that I can remember Bunpei Shiratori and Makoto Nagano and all these years later means that was fun. But you would find that kind of stuff over on Fanboys if you're interested, not on the Smark Out Moment side of things.
I happen to know that you got an extra $5 today for Fanboys, Tony.
Did I?
Yeah.
I didn't get a notification about that.
Well, my bank account did, so
Oh, that's weird.
let's make some content.
Yeah. Hopefully, maybe this week, maybe I could do something. At the very least, I know that I'm gonna see It Chapter 2, so I might be able to get a review up for that or something. I don't know. And really quickly, it's not a hot tag officially, but let's just pat it on the back. How fucking great was that Firefly Funhouse?
Oh, fucking tremendous.
Love that.
All right, so are you coming around to Bray Wyatt?
I told you before. I mean, if Bray Wyatt does more than just be the same as that in the past, then that's great. And the Firefly Funhouse thing has been different. I've never disliked the Firefly Funhouse. The Fiend thing, I'm still not 100% on board with. But I love the idea of like the Vince McMahon puppet just being fed a bunch of dollar bills and just being like, oh, no, fucking money, like Cookie Monster mode. And I guess that just kind of confirms already we're getting Hell in a Cell. It's going to be Bray Wyatt against, I'm assuming, Seth Rollins. But...
Universal Champion.
Yeah. It's either Rollins or Strowman. And obviously next week, we're going to be talking about Clash of Champions predictions, which already just happens. So keep in mind. Or is it next week? No, it's not next week.
It's next week.
Wow. Yeah, it is next week. Jeez. I hate this. Yeah, we'll talk more about that next week when we get into that. One more hot tag to talk about, though. That happened on Monday Night Raw. Big thing.
Woo!
Bayley turned heel.
Yeah.
And we were setting up. We were, getting Skype all situated. We're just kind of like, oh, we're going through. Here's the hot tags and stuff. And then fucking Bayley turns. And we're like, oh, okay, this is one of our main topics for the night.
Yeah, you got my moment by moment mark out for that because I literally was like, all right, Sasha attacks. She takes the chair. I'm like 30 seconds ahead of Tony or whatever, so I'm feeding him this. I'm like, Bayley takes the chair. I'm guessing they're going off the air. They're going off the air. Oh shit, Bayley's heel. Bayley is beating the shit out of Becky Lynch with the chair. Oh god, she's not stopping. Oh, what a great moment, Tony. What a great moment. I'm 1,000 times more excited for Clash of Champions than I was 30 minutes before that happened.
What a strange time to do it, though. Like, she's set up against Charlotte Flair. She's pretty strong as a babyface right now. I mean, I'm not, like, dissing it. Like, I'm interested as all hell. But I'm really curious why they decided to pull the trigger.
Well, to me, like, they were going somewhere with that, right? Because they kept going, Bayley, what's your thoughts on Sasha? Sasha, what's your thoughts on Bayley? And Sasha had this great psycho bitch moment of, I think it was Sarah Schreiber who came up to her like, Sasha, we know how you feel about Becky Lynch, but what are your feelings on her teaming with your best friend, Bayley? And she goes, I know what you're trying to do. Get the hell away from me. And she just like snapped. And that was the last we saw of Sasha until she showed up for the main event. They did that really well. Kudos to them. They didn't tip their hand. They didn't go, all right, I feel one way, but I swerved you. Nope. They didn't say anything about the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, bam, of course we're together. We're best friends, you idiot. Yeah, we were talking. I'm not going to tell you what we talked about. We're best friends, you idiot. Like, it was just perfect. I loved it, and I want more of it.
Now, I'm really curious how this changes the game, because I had literally, like, the minutes leading up to that, been updating my predictions for Clash of Champions and for Hell in a Cell and for Survivor Series. And I was like, okay, here's the breakdown for this match and this match and this match. For instance, and we'll talk about this a little bit more next week when we get into the prediction side of things, they had mentioned The Miz would tie the record for most Intercontinental title reigns. And I'm like, well, who would he tie it with? Chris Jericho. Well, got a feeling they're going to have him tie that record. And that means that AJ Styles keeps the United States Championship and AJ Styles against The Miz, champion versus champion, Survivor Series. Okay, there you go. I just booked the 2 mid-card things.
I'll go a step further. I think Miz gets that title and loses it
And then beats
and then
wins it back.
right away. Like, I think they could do that in 2 weeks.
It wouldn't surprise me. That would be the thing. He does that. He loses it to Sami Zayn, wins it back, or something like that. Like, they could do that kind of thing. But I was updating that. I updated the idea of like, okay, well, now we know the Bray Wyatt situation. So that means Bray Wyatt against Rollins or Strowman at Hell in a Cell. And then one of those three goes up against presumably either Kofi Kingston or Randy Orton for Survivor Series. So I'm like, all right, we could get Rollins and Kingston because they could do babyface versus babyface. They did do that when they first won the titles. They could do Rollins and Orton. They could do Bray Wyatt and Kofi Kingston. That would make a whole lot of sense. They could do Strowman against Orton. I don't think Strowman versus Kingston makes sense. Blah, blah, blah. Women's title situation, I was like, all right, well, the easy thing is Bayley against Sasha Banks. Because all you got to do is have Bayley retain and Sasha Banks wins the title. Sasha beats Becky again at Hell in a Cell. Then I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but you know what? That's around the time that WWE 2K comes out. They wouldn't really necessarily want Becky to drop that title and have that influence the sales of 2K. Okay, well, if they do that, then it's just going to be Becky against Bayley? Okay, that seems a little bit weird. Why would you do that babyface versus babyface match? And I'm writing this whole, like, babyface face kind of thing and all that. Well, now we know our answer. Bayley's heel. So you got it right there. Becky Lynch retains, and she goes up against Bayley in Survivor Series. They're not going to do Sasha winning and Bayley retaining. That's for sure.
I don't see Sasha losing.
So then do you go with Sasha against Charlotte?
I know we saw it a few years ago, but we haven't seen it in a while.
Downside for that, though, is that means that you take the title away from a hot heel Bayley.
And a hot babyface. Becky.
Yeah. So I'm, now that they did this whole heel turn with Bayley, now I'm, oddly enough, I'm going, okay, well, there goes the momentum away from Sasha. It's now on Bayley.
But it's interesting because this is a turn and an angle that is solely predicated on the wildcard rule, which is a rule that if you're following the Wrestling Observer, they're saying is going to go away by a month from now. So how do you tie all that together?
I'm assuming what they do is next week we get some kind of Sasha and Bayley against Becky and like Natty, maybe. And then once we get past the whole Clash of Champions thing and they can kind of like reformat a little bit for Hell in a Cell, then we're going to sort of ignore the Bayley thing. And then Bayley, I don't know what Bayley's going to do in the meantime because she needs some kind of an opponent for Hell in a Cell. And I sort of don't see Charlotte Flair filling that void. So is there another babyface on SmackDown that can really kind of do that?
Or do we go with this weird thing, and we've seen this in wrestling before, where Bayley's not a heel, she's just a really good friend?
Nah, I think she's a heel.
Maybe it's a circumstantial thing. I mean, maybe, and I know I'm not being funny here when I say maybe they're going to go the AEW route of like, hey, antagonists and protagonists are all a circumstantial thing. Cody can be a heel against Dustin, but then be a babyface against Shawn Spears, and then be a heel against Darby Allin, and then be a babyface against Shawn Spears, like Chris Jericho. Thank you. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like Becky could have pissed off Bayley. That's a possibility. Why can't Bayley be also jealous of Becky and still want the best for the women's division?
The only thing I could see this happening, and I'm going to put it out there just for now because, I mean, if anybody wants to go back in time and say whether or not I called it, that could be great. I'm certainly not going to fucking remember that I say it now. Maybe there's plans in place to have Charlotte become a babyface again. And maybe this is their roundabout way of being like, if we force not that they forced, because it kind of felt a little natural. So it's not like it's like, we're really trying to push the thing here. But if Bayley turns heel and I'm assuming on SmackDown tomorrow night, she's going to be in a situation where she's going to have to address that in some capacity. And they're going to have to do something between this next episode and the next one to build towards that Charlotte match. Charlotte's going to, by default, look a little more like a babyface. And maybe there's something there to the idea of her and Becky being close, and that they kind of like slowly start working towards that kind of thing in the future. And we could get babyface Charlotte Flair by the time that Hell in a Cell comes around even. I'm looking at the roster right now, and the only person that I can see filling that void of a one-time challenger thing in the meantime for Hell in a Cell, and not in a Hell in a Cell match, by the way, but just for one kind of thing, is if they bring back Liv Morgan.
And she did do that video where she started cutting her hair.
So, I mean, they could do anything. They could have Bayley up against a babyface Sonya Deville. That would be kind of strange, but I don't think that that's happening.
Just let me fantasy book for 5 seconds and tell me if you feel this idea. Becky and Sasha walk out of Clash of Champions as champions.
Becky and Sasha.
I said Becky? I meant Bayley and Sasha. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute. I'm not feeling that because I'm confused.
Bayley and Sasha walk out of Clash of Champions as champions. In some roundabout way, as you said, Charlotte and Becky end up with the women's tag titles. Women's first ever, because they love that.
Yeah, women's the first ever for everything.
Women's tag team Hell in a Cell. All 4 horsewomen.
And then what do you do for Survivor Series? Because you got 2 heel champions that are friends.
Then you do. Hey, look, everybody! Ron did that. I like it down on the reputation. You know.
See, there's the issue.
Why not Ronda versus? She fought all the 4 horsemen, right? Ronda versus Sasha again, because she could go for another one.
I'm leaning towards the idea that now Bayley's got that extra little oomph to her. And even though Sasha winning the championship makes a lot of sense, I think that 2K thing is going to be the real difference maker. And by hook or by crook, Sasha's going to lose on September the 15th. And they're going to do some kind of a Hell in a Cell, and she'll lose again. And then Becky and Bayley at Survivor Series. Sasha leading Team Raw. Probably Sasha, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Lacey Evans, and who else we got on Raw? Well, we've got Natty, we've got Naomi, and we've got Dana Brooke, but they don't really tend to use Dana Brooke. So they could just pick one of them. Doesn't really matter. They could put Sarah Logan in it if they really wanted to.
Well, why can't they put over Dana Brooke? Like,
they could. I mean, they very well could, but they tend not to. She's
we live
just like wrestling on main event.
We lived through an era of Jinder Mahal. I don't care. they can put anybody over.
They could always make her the sacrificial lamb too. And then Team SmackDown, you've got Charlotte Flair as the head of the team. And the 4 other people, they could be Kabuki Warriors and Carmella and Ember Moon.
Bro, where is Asuka?
Yeah. She's with Trent. So that could be where we go for Survivor Series, which if I'm already jumping ahead to booking November 20th or whatever the hell it is, then maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I didn't see this Bayley heel turn coming, so don't trust me 100%. That's for sure. Yeah.
But I liked that I didn't see it coming. Like, it was a genuine surprise.
Oh, fucking, I'm looking it right in my face right now. Who does Bayley fight at Hell in a Cell besides doing the Charlotte Flair thing? Ember Moon. Why wouldn't they go back and do that again?
You think they want to do that? Yeah, I don't know. I love Ember Moon, but I didn't feel that.
I think that they could end up doing that pretty easily. They they had that whole thing with her and that like mutual respect of being like, well, we'll have to do this again sometime or whatever. They could just have her be like, hey, what happened to you? You used to be cool. And then it'll be like, hey, fuck you. You're not Sasha Banks.
Why did they make
she's my friend?
Why did they make Ember Moon like the nerd, like the genuine like 1980s sitcom nerd? What happened to you, man? Why are you smoking now? Well, what's going on?
That'd be great if they did that kind of a character.
Sasha Banks just tweeted, "Good night to Bayley and Ryu, which is her dog, only. So good night, but only to Bayley and my dog."
Well, goddamn, Sasha, what did I do to you?
And I'm a fan, Sasha. Like,
yeah, so we have lots more to talk about with that Charlotte and Bayley match now than we did before. Before it was just kind of like, oh, I guess maybe Charlotte wins, maybe she doesn't. Now it's a whole like, well, this has to deal with 2K, it has to deal with Survivor Series, Hell in a Cell, Becky, Sasha, dogs.
Evolution.
Evolution's not happening.
Evolution's always happening, Tony.
Technically speaking.
It's a mystery.
Maybe they'll throw in some kind of Thunderstone or something. I think that's it for my hot tags. Anything else we need to talk about?
I'll do a once-over of the news sites.
In the meantime, I will toss out a plug for anybody that does not know that they should be following us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment, because that's obviously where you can find some little notifications of some things that happen when they happen, because whenever something gets posted up on the website, I got that set to automatically go up on those things, so go ahead and do that while you can. Every once in a while, I'll just tweet out something, just kind of be like, hey, fun match, or, any of that kind of stuff. Put up a tweet the other day, polling people asking if they watch Main Event 205 Live, both or neither.
What one?
It ends, I think, in a couple hours, but it's, it's exactly the results that you would expect it to be, which is
neither.
Virtually nobody watches both. Almost nobody watches Main Event. Most people watch neither of them, and there's some people that are like, yeah, I watch 205 Live, So you'll find that in an article that's going up on a couple days from now, or tomorrow, or I don't know. My schedule's all over the place.
On what website?
On Bleacher Report. So stay tuned to that. You'll also find some stuff on eWrestling News, because I just wrote down in my notes a little bit earlier that one of the things I'm going to be doing is fantasy booking NXT Clash of Champions. Figured that might be kind of fun.
Yeah, you've been doing these. I've seen a lot of like fantasy booking 205 Live King of the Ring, fantasy booking NXT King of the Ring. I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I'm enjoying them quite a bit. And if anybody wants to do those fantasy booking sides things and leave the comments below on those, then obviously join in and talk about that kind of stuff. Let's talk. Let's chat. Sit down. Have a cup of coffee. I don't drink coffee, but you can.
I'd like to do a fantasy booking style podcast where we just, let's make the best in your house card ever.
In your house? Out of all the ones.
I said in your house because that way we can keep it to like 4 or 5 matches.
I still think, and I'm going to die on, this is one of the many hills that I will die on, such as the Massive Dave Mastiff thing. When they start doing these house shows and they start putting them up on the network, they should be all classified under In Your House. It just makes sense. In Your House, Smackville. Not just Smackville. Nobody's going to search for Smackville. But if it's In Your House, and that's on the network, in that big grouping category, it's a house show. In Your House show. Makes sense. Just do it.
All right, so the fact that you said that makes me want to bring this up as our final hot tag. Right before all the madness of Starrcast, we got a new SmackDown trailer. In the new SmackDown trailer, there was a new logo. What do you think of the new SmackDown logo?
I am a big fan who thinks that it could be better. Essentially, I was nervous that it was going to be gross, and I didn't like that other logo that we had been seeing that looked like
the
it was
one that looked like it was from 2000, where it's like, oh, look at how extruded this is, and it's in your face.
Yeah, like they just ran through all their layer styles, and they were just sort of like, all right, we're going to make it embossed, and we're going to, that looked like something that was more along the lines of, I guess, like an icicle. And it just didn't strike me as a good logo for it. I liked the apostrophe, or not the apostrophe, the exclamation point with the D.
Yeah.
That was good. But this kind of logo that they've got going on now, it's reminiscent of the older logo, and I kind of like that. And it looks like it is on par with the Raw logo, so that's some good synergy. But I still liked that other Raw logo that we used to have, the one before this one that we have now. And I feel like both the Raw logo that we have now and this new SmackDown logo are a little bit too basic.
I like this logo so much more than I do the modern day Raw logo and the modern day SmackDown logo. I think this is minimalist, which is such a huge trend in design now. But I also think this has a little bit of history incorporated in it. Like the Raw logo looks terrible when it's by itself. Like on a plain background, it looks like shit. It looks like somebody made it in MS Paint in like the year 2000.
It's just a font with underline.
It's just not good. I would like to see a new logo. But this looks like it's a take on the 2000 era SmackDown logo, but it's modernized. So I'm a huge fan. I hope we see some new things to the stage. I hope we get fisted. And yeah.
I need to find that logo's font somewhere. And I know what the font is, I'm pretty sure.
I'm going to end up purchasing it.
You think so?
I think I'm going to end up purchasing it. I'll let you know what I do.
Well, if anybody has any ideas of what they would like to see, some different variations of that logo, like for instance, one of the things I'm looking forward to is the horizontal version. Because, SmackDown Live, they've had it before. They got rid of the live thing, by the way, which I like that.
Yes! They went with Friday Night SmackDown, which I'm, whatever. They got equity built in that name. They're moving to Friday Night, fine. But I'm so happy we're not calling it SmackDown Live. That I can just write WWE SmackDown again.
Yeah. To a certain extent, that was always annoying with SEO, because nobody's really searching SmackDown Live. They're typing SmackDown. But that's just one of those inside the business types of things that people just go like, I don't fucking care, it's SmackDown, it's Blue Raw, like that kind of thing. Yep. Overall I like it. That was a step in the right direction. I am missing that little exclamation point D, but the fact that they don't have all those weird embossed type things, cool.
You think we get a new NXT logo?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. No. You know what? No, because it's actually built into the championships.
Right. Do you think we get a Raw logo?
Nah.
We should.
I think that maybe if the next time around when they're switching from USA, potentially, maybe like if like this Fox thing really works out well, maybe Fox wants to get Monday Night Raw as well, then we would. But I think they're going to stick with this one for now.
I would like to see the word Monday Night incorporated back into the logo.
Yeah, they might.
Or
that would be one thing.
What if they tried to revive Raw as War? You think that's too old school?
Yeah, it's also just like needless extra words. At this point, it's WWE Raw. People know it by that. It'd be kind of cool if they called it the Warzone, though.
I would like to see the whole reason I brought this up is because you were talking about In Your House, and I was like, yeah, I want to see a modernized In Your House logo.
If you really like the In Your House logo and the Legends House logos, for anybody that's interested, they did the Lucha House Party thing, so I couldn't do that. I was trying to figure out a way to do that with the In Your House thing, but I do have a Lucha House Party Legends House thing up on TeePublic, so... if you can think of another house pun that I could do In Your House with, then I'll try to figure that out. Yeah, that's something to look forward to. We got that coming up in a couple of weeks already. Almost there. It's October 3rd right now. So, or September 3rd. I'm already jumping ahead. My God.
Yeah, I was like, October 3rd. That means we had our first head-to-head show last night. Why are we talking about that?
Right. Alrighty, everybody. Well, obviously, we should be calling this a night. Thank you for listening to this. I'm going to toss this over to Rob for a couple other plugs.
Check out Fightful.com. And I don't know who listens to these podcasts, but I will tell you this. Fightful is without a doubt the most efficient and healthy work environment I've ever had. And I mean that. And they're a great team. And I'm looking forward to doing more work with them in the future. But in the meantime, you can also check out WrestleZone.com, where I am featured on the WrestleZone Daily every Monday through Thursday, which you can get either on the Facebook page or on iTunes, same place you might be getting this. And you can also check out eWrestling News if you're really in a rush. News.
And E. That's going to come off like a drug thing that I'm saying that.
And wrestling.
No, it's not ecstasy wrestling news.
No, it's like E, like the channel.
Yeah, well, maybe the channel's all about that too. We don't know what they're doing.
Ecstasy.
It's got an exclamation point. They're fucking hyped up on something. And there's a defamation lawsuit. Obviously, they don't fucking do it. I'm gonna do that preference ahead of time. Whatever.
Also,
sure somebody does.
If we're throwing out apologies, we would also like to formally apologize to Atlas Ortiz and Bam Neely.
Fuck that. We're not apologizing to. In fact, if anything, I should thank Bam Neely, because that's always my go-to person for that. So thank you for always giving me a go-to to be like, remember that fucking Bam Neely? Alright, next week. Or no, not next week.
Not next week, dude. It's Monday. We gotta get through Thursday.
Later on this episode, this week. My God.
We did good, and now we're hitting the train wreck.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, the next episode this week, which is not in October.
There you go.
Is going to be most likely, we're not 100% sure, but it's most likely going to be Wrestling with the Past, a discussion about the King of the Ring, where we're going to talk about all the previous winners, the previous formats, and anything else that we want to talk about the King of the Ring tournament.
Events. I'll probably bring up Jerry the King Lawler because I can't help myself.
I'll bring up Mabel.
It's going to be a talk about King of the Ring, Kings of the Ring.
Kings of the Rings.
And Mabel.
We might do like a very quick Mount Rushmore in the middle of that. We might kind of rank them in a little bit of a top rope list, but it's not going to be like an official top rope list. So that seems to be the most efficient way for us to take care of that and have a wide range discussion without limiting ourselves to have to do any sort of format. And hell, we never really do Wrestling with the Past. We only do that pretty much for the Hall of Fame. So it'd be nice to do something a little bit different.
I'm for it.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that, everybody. That'll happen on Wednesday at some point. You'll be able to listen to it whenever that happens, gets posted. And of course, if you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, then you will know when that's getting posted, especially with that little notification bell. And that's going to do us in for this, though. 405 hot tags in the bag. Thank you for listening, as I mentioned before, and we will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.